Good morning, afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back on this wonderful Wednesday for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update. As always, we've got a hell of a lot to get into. We're going to be starting things off with a take on this idea of Bitcoin and the crypto space decoupling from the stock market. The stock market is facing a lot of uncertainty. And despite the price action that we've seen, we've continued to highlight just how remarkably well Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space at large has been doing despite some pretty negative headwinds. And I think, BlackRock spoke about this, actually Bitcoin being a risk-off asset due to its global nature. Are we seeing that? I don't think entirely. I think there's going to be periods where we're not in sync. And I think we are witnessing one of those, probably more so due to all the fundamental things that's going on with the cryptocurrency space. Bitcoin becoming more and more recognized as a global asset and finding its way into people's portfolios. The cryptocurrency space actually now starting to be used and implemented, or at least the groundwork for that being put in. And we're going to talk about that in regards to what the OCC, the comptroller, had to say. And of course, we know that a new SEC chairman, Paul Atkins, has now officially taken office. And we'll look at what he had to say in regards to one of his top priorities, which of course is the cryptocurrency space. This is all preparing for a lot of the ISO coins and some of the other cryptos to actually fundamentally change the financial system. And the US has never needed crypto more than right now in regards to stable coins, introducing a buyer to treasuries, ultimately helping to lower interest rates, which Trump has been very critical of Jerome Powell not doing, and furthering dollar dominance. So we've got quite a lot to get into. We're going to be playing a clip to start things off in regards to the decoupling. Looking at the Bitcoin price action, we were highlighting falling wedges. It's a wedge-mania taking place with not just Bitcoin, but the space generally, and it's very much playing out in the direction we expected it to. And also today, you've got a pretty monumental event in regards to what DTCC are doing. Now, DTCC clear literally quadrillions of dollars in regards to their clearinghouse. They are doing something today called the Great Collateral Experiment, where they're looking to utilize blockchain technology. So we've got a hell of a lot to get into as always. Let's kick things off with this clip of an anchor over at CNBC claiming that Bitcoin has decoupled. And we'll talk about that a little bit more broadly.
Back, not a lot of green on the screen today, as you know. However, you probably didn't look at Bitcoin. Janae McKeel did, and she's here. It's up 3%. What do you make of the way that this has been trading? It's decoupled, obviously, from the NASDAQ, which was a trend for a while. How do you see it?
Something that people were looking for all month, because if you go back to earlier this month, it really was trading in line with stocks. It just was not seeing the big, pops and drops that, one, we're used to seeing out of Bitcoin, and two, it is outperforming the S&P. It has not really caught up with gold, the leading safe haven. But I think you are seeing evidence, not just, I think that the obvious and easy narrative would be that we're talking about Fed independence today, so Bitcoin is kind of acting as that hedge against political uncertainty. But I also think that it's not just enthusiasm, it's also exhaustion. You're seeing investors wanting to get back into risk, but just maybe not the type of risk that's tied to earnings or Fed policy.
You got a quick thought?
I do. Look, you've got a president who's very interested, and his family's very interested in Bitcoin doing well, and crypto doing well. And I think you're close to regulation or some positive announcements on policy, and that's what's driving it.
It's evidence, Bitcoin's supportive nature is evidence that we have not had a deleveraging event. Because you have a deleveraging event, everything's going down.
Well, it has underperformed the S&P and NASDAQ overall since the peak. Recently, though, to your point, it is trading pretty well, up from 82 just a week and a half or 2 weeks ago.
Real quick, last thought?
I think one of the hardest things for investors is to wrap their heads around the fact that day to day it does trade like a risk asset, but medium long term it trades like a safe haven. If you look at gold's outperformance, that kind of can act as an indicator of where Bitcoin heads when the dust kind of settles.
And I wanted to play that because people often forget, because we have just moved like a speculative asset, and it is a speculative asset. The whole crypto, everything in crypto is speculative, largely right now. But we're on that cusp of, like what was mentioned there, regulatory clarity and the kind of enabling of this industry to do what it was originally designed to do. It's no surprise to me that certainly if you look at Ripple and Stellar, the same people that initially were behind them were the same people behind PayPal, the PayPal Mafia. In fact, the PayPal Mafia is still on the board of Stellar and definitely have something to do with Ripple as a company. Stripe, a lot of the greatest tech companies in the world were founded by the same people that are essentially behind certainly those two cryptos, but I'd say more broadly, like for example, Peter Thiel gave Vitalik Buterin $100,000 through a grant program. We're talking 2014. This industry has a destination, and that destination is to entirely revolutionize and introduce the internet of value and to create a global financial system. And we've moved away from Bitcoin and crypto decoupling, but Bitcoin, we clown Bitcoin maxis all the time because they fundamentally misunderstood that this technology has a broader application. As do all technologies. The internet didn't just have one application. Engines didn't just have one application. They changed the world fundamentally. And in many different ways. And Bitcoin and crypto is the same thing. Bitcoin is, I believe, a safe haven in the sense that it is an alternative store of value, an alternative asset that can be used and utilized predominantly to be an uncorrelated asset and do well in times like what we're witnessing, like what we're seeing gold do. There is that speculative aspect to it. Of course, the individual mentioned we haven't had that deleveraging event. We perhaps have, I think, in regards to the movements the S&Ps have seen. And crypto's held up remarkably well. And just to, before we get into all the sort of regulatory progress, highlight what we were looking at. We were looking at a falling wedge for Bitcoin that's very much played out. It wasn't just Bitcoin. We had it for a number of altcoins. We'll do an update on all of them later on today. And this falling wedge that we've got for Bitcoin is going to be the pattern that sees continuation in the broader trend that I believe we're in for Bitcoin, which is an uptrend that we have significantly higher targets for. I think you're now going to start to march towards your 150k range, your 306k range. You know, we got miners yesterday that were up like 20% for us. And that I personally believe we're well positioned and that will outperform Bitcoin as our kind of Bitcoin plan. Of course, we've got altcoins that we think are going to entirely smash that, but it's not just Bitcoin that had that falling wedge present. It's quite literally everything. And this gave us a lot of confidence at a time of macro uncertainty to say, look, this is on balance of probabilities based on what we're looking at technically moving to the upside. And it's happening now, guys. Don't hang around. It's not just Bitcoin that has it. It's the total cryptocurrency market cap. It's total 2, total 3, others. The crypto ETPs, look at these. These are a great barometer for the space as a whole, as they are products that track the individual cryptos. This is Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund. Who does analysis on these? I would say only us. Bitwise Top 10 Crypto Index Fund. 21 shares. These are all ready for upside in line with Bitcoin and the general space. And of course, you guys know that we've covered to death a lot of the altcoins that we like. And they're all now starting to break out of these falling wedges. And I believe that continuation is on the cards. And I think there's a lot of fundamental things happening already and that are going to continue to happen. Let's dive into what the new SEC chair, the guy that's replacing Gary Gensler, had to say yesterday, Mr. Paul Atkins, who has now officially taken office.
So at the helm of the SEC, I can confidently say it is a new day. It's time for the SEC to end its waywardness and return to its core mission that Congress set for it: investor protection, fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and capital formation. I will work to protect investors from fraud, keep politics out of how our securities laws and regulations are applied, and advance clear rules of the road that encourage investment in our economy to the benefit of Americans. A top priority of my chairmanship will be to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets through a rational, coherent, and principled approach. We will work to ensure that the United States is the best and most secure place in the world to invest and to do business. So, Mr. President, again, thank you very much for your graciousness in extending such a warm welcome to my family and me today in this storied room. I look forward to working with you, with colleagues in your administration, and with Congress to advance your agenda to bolster the economy and build on U.S. leadership of the global markets. So thank you very much.
Great speaker, Mr. Paul Atkins. And I believe Trump has got the Avengers around him. And when you look into Scott Bessent, if you've not already looked into Scott Bessent and you're interested in markets, what are you doing? This guy's a legend. One of the best at what he does, period. And I think, you know, if you look at Howard Lutnick, if you look at Elon Musk, if you look at Paul Atkins, if you look at some of the individuals, David Sachs, again, PayPal Mafia guy, these are all exceptionally impressive individuals that may do something great for America. And that's been my stance. And we've been getting a lot of flack for that, certainly given what Trump's sort of started his term off with and how that's affected the markets. And I ultimately am a lot more positive, not pessimistic on everything going on than I think many people are. That's just my own opinion. I'm allowed to have it, as are other people. That doesn't mean that we think everything Trump does is amazing. We just see some of the validity to some of what he's doing, certainly in regards to tariffs. And we've said actually this could result in lower tariffs across the board. Logically, to me, 245% tariffs on China is impossible. That was a joke. Literally, I mean, you might as well have made it 1,000 because you take a $500 billion trade with China that the US buy from China, and that's now 1.7 trillion. Who pays that? It just doesn't work, and it would, wipe out that in regards to global trade. So very interesting from Paul Atkins. Let's now look at what Rodney, who is the operator of the comptroller, one of the banking regulators that's essentially in charge of a lot of course, operations that banks do and regulating and enabling them. And let's look at what he had to say specifically on digital assets. Something fundamentally monumental is coming, guys. We've been talking about this for years. It is upon us. Do not get shaken out right when things are about to get rocking and rolling. Let's dive into this.
Digital assets are firmly ingrained in the financial services landscape. Today, more than 50 million people own cryptocurrency, and hundreds of businesses engage in cryptocurrency and require banking services. National banks and federal savings associations are well positioned to support crypto asset activities from within the federally regulated banking sector. I'm pleased that recently the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency clarified that certain crypto-related activities, including crypto asset custody, holding deposits as reserve-backing stablecoins, and using distributed ledger technology and stablecoins for payment activities are all legally permissible. The OCC also confirmed its expectation that banks conducting novel crypto activities do so with appropriate risk management processes in place. This action reduces regulatory burden, encourages responsible innovation, and enables banks to leverage new technology and innovative ways to serve their clients and customers. To learn more, visit occ.gov.
Like, I know these are just clips, and that one kind of looks almost AI, doesn't it? We live in this very strange world where everything we watch, we're now like, is that AI? And quite a lot of it is, and it's going to become an increasing problem that blockchain can actually solve through introducing sort of like online identities that you can sign things off on, or you can almost put a like metadata into to show that it's actually came from the individual and hasn't been AIized or whatever. There's negatives with that as well, but these might just seem like clips, but these are monumental steps towards the enabling of this industry that has been basically kept in a box up until really right now. And on the back end of that, to sort of continue with all that and the theme that we're on, this is from DTCC. DTC are the clearing house, basically. Euroclear, DTCC, two biggest in the world. Quadrillions of dollars between them. Join us tomorrow for a live demo that will unite the industry to define the token standard for collateral across global jurisdictions. Remember, the global financial system is being enabled with these cryptocurrencies, and validate the operation model for international collateral transfers. Register now. I'll be watching this myself. This is Wednesday the 23rd. The Great Collateral Experiment. Watch live as DTCC clients, partners, and participants come together for a groundbreaking experiment showcasing the future of digital collateral market infrastructure. The virtual event will present a day in the life of blockchain-enabled collateral as it moves across financial hubs, including New York, Tokyo, Paris, and London. We will highlight how digital collateral brings unprecedented liquidity, efficiency, and scale for market participants. And blockchain integrates seamlessly across legacy siloed infrastructure while maintaining the integrity of related market infrastructure. In collateral, digital isn't the future, it's the present. So it's here. Our opportunity to reinvent the movement on collateral is here. Let's shape this together. And they're entirely talking about distributed ledger technology doing that. And Chainlink's going to play a role, and there's going to be many other cryptocurrencies. I don't know how much more I can say to get people as excited as they should be about the proposition, certainly value proposition of being an investor in the cryptocurrency space right now. You don't have to take that journey with me, but take it seriously. If you want to become a patron, guys, there's a link in the description. You'll unlock my entire portfolio, the stocks that I own. You'll get weekly meetings with me every Sunday, every Wednesday. You'll get continued updates. You'll get access to a community of like-minded individuals all working towards the same endeavor. And believe you me, we've sailed these seas rather well. And we're going to continue to do so. We're hundreds of percent up on cryptos, some stocks, and we think we've got hundreds of percents to come. Of course, that's not a guarantee and not financial advice, but do check the Patreon out in the description. Ladies and gents, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.